there's a significant amount of men and people that grow up in abusive situations that choose differently. My football hero, Anthony Calvillo, I got to meet him, and he grew up in domestic abuse, no different than me. And he made different choices than me. He said that he was not going to be defined by domestic abuse. He was going to be influenced by it. He couldn't change that. And so I think that that's the significant difference that I've encountered, is the question of, in our youth, in our teen years, are we going to be defined by this behavior, or are we going to be influenced by it?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Flourish Podcast, and I'm so excited in our studio here today, our Calgary, Alberta, Canada studio, but we've got Roy Mitten with us. Hey Roy, how you doing?
Doing great.
Okay, that's great. And Roy actually lives just down the road in a community called Red Deer with his beautiful family. And Roy and I have connected and been actually partners and collaborators in a lot of the work that we do now for 5-6 years. And so it's a real honor for me to have you here, Roy. And so Roy has an amazing story that I'm not going to tell you, but Roy, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to and what you're doing, how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, so, I usually like to start where I'm at and then kind of work backwards.
Love it.
That's what I usually ask people. My wife, Tiffany, and I are the co-founders of an organization called Your Thriving Family. It's a ministry that helps families thrive wherever they're at, to go from where they are to where they want to be. This is our 15th year, 15 years.
Congratulations.
In June. So, and it started actually with really rough beginnings. Really serious subject. I had a history of domestic abuse that was generational. And I decided when I met Tiffany about 6 months into our relationship that I was going to do something about it. And so here in Calgary, we were living at the time, and I went and got help. And we felt that, that community, people who are struggling with domestic abuse, either people who are abusive or those that are being abused, there was two things that were happening. One was that it was vastly misunderstood. And two, there was an enormous amount of stigma. And we felt that we wanted to address that. And so for the first 7 years, we exclusively worked in the realms of domestic abuse. And in these last years, what we found was families started to thrive. People started to not only want to have, to stop the problems in their relationship, but they wanted their families and their relationships to thrive. And so today we see ourselves dealing with every type of relationship, not just one specific corner.
Right. And so, we talk about like domestic abuse and domestic violence, how, and thank you for sharing and your own transparency. How pervasive do you feel this is in relationships? What have you and Tiffany noticed in the work that you've been doing?
If we define it as a misbalance of power and control, which is essentially what abuse is, it's very prevalent because we really don't discuss that in relationships. We don't help people inventory where there's an advantage and how they may be taking advantage of that. And so it's actually quite unrecognized. And so if you think about abuse as black eyes and pulled hair, etc., the numbers are different. But where Tiffany and I go, where there's any time that there's an advantage that's being taken advantage of, it's quite prevalent.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And are you, when you reference the whole idea, and this is, I think, really important because it may impact somebody who's listening today, generational, I mean, these are dysfunctions in relationships that we often don't just create all on our own. Mm-hmm. What have you noticed over the years about, generational dysfunction and how that shows up in relationships?
Well, a couple of things, and this was I have to give credit to somebody that I ministered to years ago, and he said, "You can't do what you don't know, and once you know better, you can do better." And so, oftentimes, we don't have the modeling. With that said, though, there's a significant amount of men and people that grow up in abusive situations that choose differently. My football hero, Anthony Calvillo, I got to meet him, and he grew up in domestic abuse, no different than me. And he made different choices than me. He said that he was not going to be defined by domestic abuse. He was going to be influenced by it. He couldn't change that. And so I think that that's the significant difference that I've encountered, is the question of, in our youth, in our teen years, are we going to be defined by this behavior, or are we going to be influenced by it? But really, no matter where you're at with it, let's just get to do something about it. That's what the important part is. Right. Yeah, not the mistakes we've made, the choices that we've made up to that point.
Right. No, that's such an important thing, right? Because that shame and feeling of inadequacy can really hold us back from getting the very help that we need.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so, so tell us a little bit about some of the programs and the offerings that you and your wife have as you start to work with families and individuals.
Yeah. So one of the things that we've really taken off with is I have a 30-week program for men who are seeking to be the husbands, fathers, and leaders that they were created to be. That is an amazing group of men that sign up. Is a huge commitment. 30 weeks is a long time. That's about 7 months when you throw in a couple of holidays. And they meet every Thursday night. And that service, I've seen that do better than marriage counseling, to be truthful, at helping to have that, what I call domestic leadership at home. And then we also work with ladies who are in dysfunctional relationships. That could be anything from, just not happy at home to something as serious as domestic abuse. And we work one-to-one. And then Tiffany actually also has a group called Free to Be Me.
Okay.
For ladies that are trying to rediscover themselves.
And so, and tell us a little bit about that. What are they doing there?
What we've found in the last 15 years is one of the key reasons why a lady will file for divorce from her marriage is that she seems to have lost herself. This is how she describes it, and that she doesn't feel that in her marriage she can get herself back. She needs to go outside of that. And so what we've designed was a program that was helping ladies to recapture who they are, regardless where they are. And because we don't believe that should be the case. We should believe that women should be able to have their identity wherever they're at, regardless. And so it's really focused on ladies just being who they are and being okay with that. It's not about improvement as much as it is confirmation that they're okay.
That's awesome. So tell me, like in terms of what you are seeing and, appreciating that you're looking at, a lot of men and the issues that they're facing, probably more than most who would be listening to this. What are some of the big challenges that men would be facing today?
I think there's a lot of confusion on what it is to be a man. I think that is one of the things I see the most. So if we don't have any type of distinction on what something is, we oftentimes, it's like the fog banks in life. It's like when we're trying to get into the safe harbor, if the fog is down low, we're going to move slow. So I think that's one of the things I see a lot, is helping men to have that good discernment on what it is to be a healthy man. And I'd say that's the biggest struggle that I see, is that uncertainty. I think also another one that I recognize quite a bit is men like knowing how to be a leader in their homes. Not that saying do as I say, but leading by example. I think that there's actually a lack of leadership in that idea of leading by example, because we've seen a model of leadership in our homes that's largely do as I say, which has caused a lot of grief. And so, so those are two of the things that we really work hard with the men.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you guys are also very involved in Flourishing and Flourishing Workplace. And
Indeed,
the stuff
we are.
We're all doing. And so tell us a little bit about that and what you what you found, what you love, what's working well for you, etc.
Well, we were looking for a universal model of coaching model. We prefer the coaching model over the counseling model at Your Thriving Family. And so we stumbled onto Flourishing with yourself. And I've got all of our coaches are certified under Flourishing. One of the things I love about it is that it's not about what's wrong with you. It's about what's strong with you. And really coming from a strength-based approach. Oftentimes, the phrase that I encounter when I first meet people is, my problem is.
Right.
And so with Flourishing, it's coming from the opposite direction. Because when we know what our strengths are, we can use those strengths to help manage the things in our wheelhouse that need to be strengthened.
Right. Absolutely. And so when you focus on the stuff that's wrong, it tends to get bigger, tends to enlarge.
Absolutely.
When you focus on the things that are right, then it grows and it's empowered.
Exactly. And starting from that idea that you have value right from the get-go,
Right.
whereas
Absolutely.
in the past, problem solving coaching models would have this idea that once I have my problem fixed, then I have value.
Right.
Yeah, that's a real difference in Flourishing.
That's awesome. Well, anything else you'd like to say to our audience, Roy, today? And of course, perhaps most importantly, how could they reach you or your wife?
Well, they could reach out to us by emailing us at info@yourthrivingfamily.ca or going onto our website at yourthrivingfamily.com. Or sorry, .ca.
It's all good.
I'll send you to the wrong place. And you matter, and your stuff is important, and so we're here to help you with that. No matter where you are, Red Deer is close now with Zoom. We're close beside you. So
that's great. Well, thanks so much, Roy. And I mean, what a great place to end this episode. You matter and your stuff matters. And, rather than allowing your stuff to spiral you down, reach out to Roy, reach out to his wife at yourthrivingfamily.ca. There's lots of ways you can get in touch with him right off the website. So again, yourthrivingfamily.ca. And you know what? Roy's whole story will blow you away when you hear all of it. And of course, his amazing wife, Tiffany, as well. And so you might be listening to this and thinking, well, I'm not worthy, or, it's too bad to recover. You don't understand my situation. I think these guys do understand your situation, but most importantly, they would want to walk with you to help you kind of put the pieces back together one step at a time. And so please do reach out, yourthrivingfamily.ca. And hey, give us, if you can, a like, follow us, subscribe, and help us with that old YouTube algorithm. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you for the next episode of the Flourish Podcast. Thank you so much.